Working from home when you have pet birds is both a blessing and a curse. It's amazing that we get to be home with our birds more, we get to avoid the annoying commute and things like that, and the office life if that's not your sort of thing. The downside is these guys don't like to be quiet for the entire working day, and they like to be all up in our business trying to do our work for us. So here are my top tips to help you work from home when you have pet birds. Tip number one, which is a more practical one, is invest in a good pair of noise cancelling headphones or earplugs, or both. Whilst we would like our birds to be quiet all day long whilst we're working and then make noise afterwards, it's very unlikely they're going to do that. Their parrots is in their DNA to be incredibly noisy. So sometimes we do need to just kind of get in our own space and block a little bit of it out, because we can't expect them to be completely silent for the entire day. So that might just give you a bit of peace of mind that you can actually focus on your work. We also recommend trying to do some bird related things before you start work. Yes, it might mean getting up a little bit earlier, but it may help to get some of that energy out of your bird so they can have a peaceful start to the morning. That could be a training session, doesn't have to be very long, but you could do some recall training and station training and things like that to get some of that energy out, do some high energy stuff where they're going to be flying around or running around, dancing, that kind of thing. Or you can just do a nice period of out of cage time where maybe you're having some cuddles. You're going up there as well, are you? You maybe have some cuddles, maybe you wear both birds as a hat. Or you do other nice stuff so they have some attention and interaction with you and fun stuff, and then they can be settled for a little bit after that. Pickles also just tail slapped me with a really wet tail. I think she's dunked her tail in her water bowls. That's nice. It's also very strange that they actually want to both sit on my head. Normally they're kind of fighting over who gets to have that spot up there because it's nice and warm. So we'll see how long they want to behave for. However, my next point is to check in with your birds at variable times in the day. Our birds are very good at learning our routines. They know that when we leave them in their cage for a while, it could be a few hours before they see us again. And they may not like that, especially if you have a single bird. Sometimes single birds struggle more than birds who are in flocks because you are their flock. And it's very unusual in the wild for their flock mates to just disappear for several hours at a time. They're usually all together and they are in screaming distance or visual distance with them. That's often why we see sometimes birds struggle to have the ability to kind of cope on their own. However, there are skills that you can teach them to manage this. But if you check in with your bird at variable times throughout the day, so it's not the same time every day, that can help them to just understand that you are going to come back. It's not always, okay, I'm gone for 2 hours. Maybe after 5 minutes of popping them in cage time just before you join that Teams meeting, you might just poke your head around and be like, are you okay? And they'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. And then you can check in with them after the meeting as well. The next massive thing that we see with birds who are disruptive and noisy and things like that when we're working from home are birds who are lacking in certain skills. Now, we want our birds to be foraging all day and shredding toys and playing and self-entertaining and all that kind of stuff. But if your bird does not have the skills to do that in a complex way so that they can actually stay engaged in this thing for more than 5 minutes, that's where you're going to find problems. That's where they're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what to do, where's my human? And then you're going to run into lots of scrapping. One of the things that we see with a lot of amazing bird owners is they get these beautiful shredding toys, they make these elaborate foraging trays with loads of good stuff on there, and they give it to their birds, say see you later, and their bird's like, well, I don't know what to do with that. Like, that's lovely, but I don't know what you expect me to do with this. And this is where we actually have to teach our birds how to interact with more complex things. You can make the most amazing toys for your birds, but if they don't have the skills to actually engage with them, then they're nothing more than glorified decorations. This is where my How to Teach Your Bird to Forage video comes in handy, because you do have to start from scratch, and we recommend doing this on things like foraging trays, where you just sprinkle some seeds and let them have free feeding on these yummy high value stuff, and then you slowly over sessions and sessions build up the complexity by adding flowers and crinkle paper and toy parts and other loads of cool things, and that's how you can build up complex foraging that way. Just chucking a big foraging tray of all this stuff in front of your bird, if they're less experienced with that or less experienced in the cage, they're unlikely to engage with it, and they may just look at it and poop on it and they're not actually foraging it. It's the same way when we make mini foragers. We like to fill paper straws with treats, or paper cake cases, paper espresso cups, cardboard boxes, loads of other cool stuff. But sometimes you need to just put the treats in and just show it to your bird and let them get the treats for free without actually having to manipulate the object. That way they associate these objects with yummy stuff, and then over time you can fold things over and make it a bit harder for them to actually access those treats. And the harder you make it, the more likely they're going to stay engaged with it for longer, because there's more steps to it. But again, it's all about teaching them how to actually get to that point instead of expecting them to be there already. What you might find interesting in this situation is getting yourself a pet camera. That can give you a lot of data about what your bird is actually doing when you're working, other than maybe screaming. Like, what are they actually doing in their cage, and you can evaluate that. We do find, again, especially with single birds, that they kind of go into what we call standby mode, where if you do go out of the house or you are leaving them be, they kind of don't really know what to do and they just sit there. Now, some resting and stuff like that is completely fine. That's normal for our birds to rest and chill out and relax. But if they're spending the entire working day of yours doing nothing, then that is obviously a cause for concern, because they haven't got the skills to self-entertain, which is why that step is really important. My partner David, the parrot teacher, also has an amazing video on how to teach a bird to play with toys, because again, just because it says bird toy does not mean that your bird knows how to interact with it. Even if it's the most incredible shredding toy with solar and balsa and mahogany pods and palm leaf and everything else, you may have to actually train your bird how to play with these toys. Because if your toy is sat in your bird's cage for weeks or months on end and they don't touch it, it is more of a decoration than an actual toy, because they're not actually engaging with it. Now, if you guys don't know already, David and I are certified professional bird trainers, and we do consultations from home. We do work from home in that regard. Obviously, we make YouTube videos and everything else, which is all done at home. Now, if we were on consultations with people at all times of the day, because we do work with people globally, and we want our birds to be quiet while we're talking to people, and we just say, well, just crack on and be quiet, they're not going to be. You know, it's just impossible. We've got 9 birds living with us, and that makes a lot of noise. So one of the other techniques that we do, which is very useful in this scenario and many other scenarios, is something called conditioned calm. Now, what is conditioned calm? This is something that doesn't require any treats, and it's again a skill that you teach your bird. And this is where you play a calming sound about 10 to 20 minutes before bedtime every single night. We choose rainforest sounds, but you could choose thunderstorm sounds, wave sounds, white noise, classical music, not bird sounds, because they are not relaxing. We want nice, calming, relaxing music placed to your bird 10 to 20 minutes before they go to bed and the lights out. What this does over time, the more you do it, is they start associating this sound with roosting and relaxing and chilling out and getting ready for bed. And why is this useful? Well, you can play this sound during the day, and more often than not, they will recognise this sound and think, oh, that's my sleepy time sound, and they may just relax and calm down for a little bit. If you've got a very important meeting or a presentation to do from home, that might just give you that period of quiet that you need. I'm actually playing it now for the other birds in the other room while I've got Pickles and Scampi in here filming, and for the most part, they're fairly relaxed. You could also get a really cool play stand or foraging tray or Java tree for your home office so that your bird can come and hang out with you. The problem, of course, is we want them to stay on that play stand and not be pestering you and crawling all over your keyboard and writing their own emails and all sorts of things. So it does take a bit of time to actually train your bird to stay engaged in that, and that comes down again to having things to do, because again, if you want your bird to just sit there and do nothing, they're probably going to come and pester you. So we want to make sure we're giving them things to do, like foraging and mini forages. We also may want to consider the positioning. Does it need to be really close to us? Should it be quite far away? Otherwise they're going to keep flying to us. Have a think about that, and also making sure they can stay engaged on there with those high value treats that they actually find reinforcing. Some people prefer not to have their birds in their home office. That's fine. But again, making sure that your bird has things to do when you aren't with them is very important. A more passive thing to do as well is to provide your bird with calming food and drink. I do have an entire video on calming foods for pet birds. Things like lavender, lemon balm, mint, like fresh mint. You can give your bird a whole sprig of fresh mint for them to shred, and it has that mild calming effect. No food or drink that's calming is going to completely zen your bird out, but all of these things that kind of come together will help to create a more calming atmosphere for them. And the other thing that you can offer them is calming avian tea. You can get special avian teas that have calming properties that are blended in a certain way to evoke that calming response. They're very natural and they are very healthy and good for your birds as well. So if you would like to experiment with offering calming avian teas, we do have one on our store. We ship to the UK and Europe, and I'll also put some resources down below for the US, Canada and Asia as well. So if you'd like to get yourself some calming teas, you can go and check those out, because we do highly recommend them to offer to your bird, just to help chill them out a little bit, especially if they do find you working from home or being away quite stressful. It is a way that you can help to just chill them out a little bit. Scampi is not chill. She's very, very excited being in my hair, aren't you? If you work from home, let me know your top tips to help stay concentrated and focused and keep your birds busy and quiet as well. Let us know down in the comments because we'd love to hear from you. But from me, Pickles and Scampy, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.